Welcome to the channel and to this very special battle report. The Titans are coming out to play. It's 5,000 points. It's Eldar versus Space Marines and Adeptus Mechanicus. This planet is in ruins. This city is on fire. Nothing but flame and smoke for hundreds and hundreds of miles in every direction. The Space Marine Army, known as the 13th, have been deployed en masse with their old allies, the Penitent Forge, and they have been battling against the ancient enemy, their nemesis, the Eldar. Across this sector of the city, the shield up above is flickering, is dying, is about to collapse. There are only 4 Tesla coils still functioning in this sector, and if these Tesla coils go down, if they fall to the Eldar, then the shield will fall and the Eldar will be able to land their forces from the fleet above en masse. The armies of the Imperium must defend these Tesla coils. We've got 3 down this side of the table, so this side is going to get very, very interesting, and 1 up this side of the table. There's no first blood, there's no line breaker, but there will be Slay the Warlord. Each of these objectives will be worth 3 points each, and to keep it simple, everything in the entire armies, each of our armies, will have objectives secured. It is critical that these Tesla coils are taken. It's critical the shield stays up or the shield is brought down. And as you can see, apart from the odd building remaining, it's quite an empty, quite a desolate battlefield. Most of the ruins, most of the structures have been torn down. This fight has been brutal in the extreme. We're going to stagger the reserves for this fight. At the start of the game, only fast units and infiltrators will be on the table. Then we're going to roll for everything coming on in turn 2, except for the really big boys. And then everything else comes on in turn 3, including a Reaver Titan and a Revenant Titan. The Reaver and Revenant are at the moment dueling each other at long range. And it's going to be turn 3 onwards when everything pours onto this battle grid to defend or take these Tesla coils. So it's going to start off very, very light at the beginning and then get very big, very brutal, very quickly. We welcome Tom back to the channel. Tom's been on the channel quite a few times with his Raven Guard, with his Mechanicum, with his Orcs, and this time, for the first time, he's brought his Eldar. Another point to note, I just want to point out that this battle mat, I really like this one. This one's from GameMat.eu. This is one of my favourite mats. And these Tesla coils come from Awaken Realms Studios. So if you guys are interested in these objectives or this map, check them out. And this is where we are after deployment. And it was very quick. Only fast units and infiltrators coming in first. Some attack bikes here and down there. And my scouts round here. And I'm facing some war walkers, some bikers, some more bikers and a Viper. And that's it. And in turn 1, flyers will be coming on as well. Only fast units and flyers pouring into this battle grid, trying to take these key objectives. The Space Marines, the Imperium, will be going first. Eldar are going second. It is not night fighting. The sun is high in the sky. We have been battling it for days on this planet. But as you can see on this battle grid, in this sector, things are quiet. For now, this is all that we have at our disposal in turn 1, but there is a lot more ready to come on. Let's go and check out the remainder of these armies. Okay, this is the remainder of the Imperial force, and for the first time on this channel, and I have to say for the first time ever, I'm fielding the Reaver and the Warhound together. Fear the darkness and the dying of the light will walk together at the same time, and my opponent Tom called for this. I'm not being that cheesy, I'm not being that guy. He said, what would happen if you brought 2 of them to the same fight? And I said, bad things, very, very bad things would happen. And Tom said, bring it. The remainder of the Space Marine contingent is down here. This is Chaplain Snow leading 2 units of 5 normal Terminators and a unit of 10 Assault Terminators. They're all going to be deep striking in, and I've got 2 Storm Talons coming in. And then marshalling the 2 God machines into war is a Skitarii Maniple. 10 Rangers, no upgrades, 5 Vanguard, 10 Vanguard, 10 Vanguard. There's Haywire in that one and that one. There's a Plasma Caliber in this one. I've got some Onager Dune Crawlers, some Dragoons, and then the 2 big boys. And that is it. And this is Tom's army. He has a Revenant and 2 Wraith Lords in order to take out my Reaver and my Warhound, but there is a lot more D in this force. Not only has the Revenant got those D shots, each of these guns fires 2 D blasts. This guy's firing Ds as well, and then the Wraith Guard down here have got their D scythes. This chap back here has got the sword and the shield, not a D. So for reserve purposes, we're going to roll for everything in turn 2, but the big boys are only going to come on in turn 3. We don't want them on too soon because things could, well, this battle could be over very, very quickly. We agreed on what we were doing beforehand. Imagine that they're dueling each other in the distance, closing in at this critical battle grid. Then in the remainder of the army, we've got Dire Avengers and Fire Dragons inside a Vulcan. We've got some Banshees, we've got 2 Wraith Lords there, a number of Wave Serpents coming up, more Dire Avengers, 2 Fire Prisms. The Warlord for the Eldar army is Azurman. There's an Exarch and the Avatar as well. We've also got a Seer Council down in this corner. Formation-wise, we've got 3. We've got the Aspect Host formation here, no doubt up in their ballistic skill by 1. And the Seer Council, of course, is another brutal formation. So what we have is a highly elite, highly mobile Eldar list with some very, very frightening toys coming in, taking on a slow, ponderous Space Marine army with some deep striking Terminator goodness coming in. Should mention the Seer Council rolled on telepathy, as well as shrouding and psychic shriek and terrify. Yes, they've got invisibility. Nasty. Honestly, I have no idea how this fight is going to go. It could be over very quickly. Staggering the reserves will hopefully keep that down, but it's going to be interesting. So now you've seen the armies, and now you've seen what precious little is on this battle grid in turn 1. Now you know what's happening. There's going to be a lot of stuff pouring on in turn 2, and then the rest of the army in turn 3. No First Blood, no Line Breaker. It's going to be just, this is going to be brutal sauce. Let's move on to turn 1. It's the end of turn 1 for the forces of the Imperium, and it's all very simple. The Talons are on here, the attack bikes moved up, and all the scouts move round. I'm trying to take control of this flank, trying to bring as much firepower down as I can on this flank to kill as much as possible. And the unit of bikers that were there are gone. The War Walkers that were there are gone. In fact, the only thing remaining on the table for the Eldar is a Viper and a unit of bikes down here. My remaining unit of bikers has dipped into this piece of cover here. So at the end of turn 1, the Eldar have suffered a heavy blow. I am controlling this side of the battle grid, but still this battle grid is eerily light. There's not a lot of forces here yet. We can hear the gunfire in the distance and the treads of something monstrous. So we move on to Eldar turn 1, and these 2 units down here will not be entirely unsupported because in the skies above, a Crimson Hunter is cutting through the clouds. Let's move on to Eldar turn 1. The end of turn 1 for the Eldar, the Crimson Hunter cuts through the skies and takes shots at that Storm Talon, which is jinking and didn't cause a hull point. All the shots cutting to the right and to the left. The bikes have moved flat out all the way from over here, and the Viper's staying back, staying still, trying to keep away from all the nastiness which is about to descend onto the battle grid. So that's the end of turn 1. The first shots have rang out in anger. The Imperium have weathered the storm. The Eldar are taking casualties. But now we're moving on to turn 2, and things are about to escalate. Things are going to get very brutal very quickly. Everything has a potential chance of coming on, except for that Reaver Titan. This is where we are at the end of the movement phase. One Talon trying to take on the Crimson Hunter. The other Talon is going to try and take on the Viper. Big guns from the Warhound Titan. Going to try and smash into the bikers here, and that should be all the Eldar dead, and then they need to make every single one of their reserve rolls to make sure that they have some army on the table at the end of turn 2, or not be tabled. Scouts are zipping from right to left, Dune Crawlers on and Vanguard on. It was a terrible reserve rolls for me. Every single one of my Terminators is not coming in. It would seem that these Tesla coils are interfering with the teleport homers, the shield above crackling and fizzing, scrambling coordinates, so the Terminators do not get to deep strike in this turn. Also, the Onager Dune Crawlers are off as well, so perhaps half of my force still not on the table. And of course, Fear the Darkness, the Reaver Titan, still not on the table. Let's move on to the shooting phase. Here we are towards the end of the shooting phase in turn 2. The Dying of the Light has yet to fire. Speed of Storms flatten out. Dragoons running forward. We're using Death from the Sky, so I'm snap firing up at that Crimson Hunter, which did not jink and took a hull point. This Talon here managed to destroy the Viper down there. So stretching out my forces, moving from right to left, and now let's fire some guns down in on these bikes. Don't know if that was a very good demonstration of the firepower of a Warhound Titan picking on a tiny unit of bikes, but at the end of turn 2 for the Imperium, for the Penitent Forge, and for the 13th, the only Eldar unit remaining on the battle grid is a Crimson Hunter. He is screaming out through the communication channels, not the Vox, whatever communication channels Eldar use. Some mind, power, brain warping stuff, no doubt. He's screaming out for reserves. This battle grid, these Tesla shields are firmly under the control of the 13th and the Penitent Forge, and as he zips through the skies he looks left outside of his canopy and sees God machines marching down towards the Eldar lines. The Eldar need their reserves, and they need them badly. Let's move on to Eldar turn 2. Heeding the frantic calls of the Crimson Hunter pilot, the Eldar have appeared en masse. Every single one of their reserves are in, except for the Revenant Titan, the Seer Council, and the Dire Avengers with their Warlord inside a Wave Serpent. So suddenly there's a wave of red washing into this battle grid. Up this side of the battle grid, we've got a Wraith Knight looking across at the Dying of the Light, ready to put some D rounds into them. The Falcon here has got some Dire Avengers in. Wraith Lord. Then inside this Wave Serpent is the Wraith Guard with their nasty D-size, D flamer weapons, nasty, ready to split right or left wherever they're needed. Inside this Falcon is the Fire Dragons. Then we have another Wraith Knight. Banshees on the back grid. These two Fire Prisms, they're a squadron, and the Avatar here, down next to this Tesla coil already, ready to run forward if need be and make his presence felt. So the Imperial forces managed to make the Eldar bleed in the first turn, but the battle in this flaming city is far from over. The Eldar are here, and they are here in style. Let's see what they can do and move on to the shooting phase. Right, we're interrupting the shooting phase here because Flyers and Lance Fire, Bright Lance Fire, all firing up and firing in, smashed into the Dying of the Light. Both shields dropped and one of its hull points already. It's on 8 hull points left. And now we've got the double D train coming in from this Wraith Knight, rolling a hit, hitting on 3s. 1 hit. Now this is a D weapon. If he gets a 6, I could be in dire straits. 4. So that's going to be D3 hull points. That's 3 hull points stripped off the Dying of the Light. 4 hull points in total. Both of its shields gone. It's smoking. It is belching. And we still haven't finished the Eldar shooting phase. And the Titan is really caught in a crossfire. The Fire Prisms over there smashing into it. This Falcon, the Wave Serpent, the Falcon, everything focusing in on the Dying of the Light. And he's had a penetrating hit and he's rolled a 6. A 6 is an auto hull point, so it's down to 3. and it's going to lose an additional D3 hull points.
Come on. Oh, no.
So close, Tom, so close. The Dying of the Light has got 2 hull points left. Its shields are down, it's flickering, it is on fire, but it is alive. That's the last of all the long-range firepower. That's all the last. It's the last of the firepower that can actually hurt it. And he tried to take it out in one turn, tried, and almost succeeded. And this is the end of the Eldar shooting phase, what with everything, and I mean everything, focusing on the Titan. There was very few shots bouncing down on the rest of my army, which either missed or did not wound, or I made saves against. If the Eldar had killed the Titan, I would have said that's a very good tactic, but as it stands, the Eldar in turn 2 have killed nothing in the Imperial forces. The Dying of the Light is still alive, and the remainder of my army, including the Reaver Titan, Fear the Darkness, is now going to walk to war. Here we are at the end of the movement phase for the 13th and the Penitent Forge. I've done the run moves in the units that aren't going to shoot, such as the unit of Hammonators that dropped in here with Chaplain Snow. There's an objective there, there, and there. So he is front and centre, ready to take the brunt of the Eldar force. And I know I've got an Avatar here and some Banshees there and a Wraith Knight here, but there shouldn't be very many Banshees left. One of the Storm Talons has jinked off, but this Storm Talon is looking at him, as well as Land Speeder Storms, Land Speeder Storm, Land Speeder Storm. There's not very many squishy things on the table for the Eldar, just these Banshees really, and the Avatar hidden away. Apart from that, if you look across, we've got Toughness 8, Toughness 8, Toughness 8, and vehicles everywhere. So all of my light arms fire that could maneuver and could turn to fire is going to focus on these Banshees, which will help keep Snow safe from some of the riposte that is about to come in. And talking about keeping him safe, attack bikes moving forward to put fire down on these fire dragons, fire prisms, and the big boy, Fear the Darkness, is in play, and this objective is his. Someone can come and try and take it off him if he wants. We're using the most up-to-date rules for the Reaver Titan. That's in the Red Book, the Mechanicum book. 18 hull points, 4 shields, armor 14, 14, 13. Can never be locked in combat with Towering Monstrosity. Haywire won't hurt it either. We're applying these rules to the Revenant Titan as well. Can never be locked in combat, and Haywire won't hurt. The Towering Monstrosity rules, it only seems fair, seeing as the rules for the Reaver and the Warhound are very up to date, but not so much for the Revenant. And then we have Rangers and Vanguard and Vanguard and Vanguard pouring forward. This unit is the one that came in on reserve and has run forward. These guys haven't ran yet, neither have these. The Onaga Doomcrawlers with their strength 10 AP1 neutron lasers are also there. So there's a chunk of forces washing in on the battle grid for the Penitent Forge. One of my units of Terminators deep struck scatter all the way back and has ended up here. And there's a bunch of Wraithguard with D-sides in there, D-flamers. It's, yeah, they're going to be dead. I could have ran them and spread them out, but that's too much D. They're going to die. So let's get that Cyclone missile launcher off before they do. And as for the other unit of Terminators, well, as I said, the teleportation coordinates have been scrambled through the Tesla cores, through the other side of the shield. And they ended up all the way in this corner. They're out of the fight for many, many turns. They might be able to run and take the only objective on this side of the battle grid later on in the game. We shall see. And there are Dragoons and there are attack bikes looking in on this flank as well. Looking across the table, most of my force has barely made it past the halfway mark. There are a couple of points to note. One, the Eldar haven't killed anything in my army yet because they focused everything they could into the Dying of the Light. Two, I haven't killed very much of the Eldar army either, just a couple of scat bike units, a Viper, and the War Walkers. It's been an escalation game. There wasn't much on the table before now. 3, just a reminder, everything has objective secured. I mean, who's going to take an objective off a Reaver Titan? I wouldn't want to stand at his feet and say this objective is mine. And the 4th thing, this is going to be a random game length. It's going to go on to 5, 6 or 7 if we get that far, because this could be a brutal turn. And the Dying of the Light recovers his 2 shields on a 5-up and gets both of them back. Do you like that, Tom?
No, I don't.
Do you like that?
Not really.
This battle grid now shakes to the tread of monstrous feet, and with guns that can hit starships in orbit. For the first time on the channel, the Dying of the Light and Fear the Darkness go to war. Let's move on to the shooting phase. It's the end of the shooting phase. Everything is fired except for the Titans, and all the vehicles have got hollow fields on them. These Banshees took a pounding. There's only 3 of them left, and this Vulcan is down to 2 hull points and stunned, and then the rest of my army was either out of range or bouncing off the hollow fields or shooting through all these ruins in the way and didn't do anything. So this turn I didn't kill very much of the Eldar at all except for these Banshees. So now the Titans, the big guns on the Titans need to speak. And what should I fire at? Should I fire at the Fire Prisms? Should I fire at the Wraith Knights? Gotta fire at the Wraith Knights, right? Gotta fire at them with Ds. But then there's the Wraith Guard in here. Fire at them with the big Ds, crack it open. Fire at them with the other Ds and kill the guys inside. Decisions, decisions, decisions. Okay, God Machine, Warhound Titan. Designate the Dying of the Light. Firing 1, Strength 10, AP 2, primary weapon. Down on these 2 vehicles here. Putting it on this green gem so it hits both of them. Rolling to hit at ballistic skill 4. And that's a chunking great scatter. And it scatters forward and only hits this Vulcan here. Strength 10, primary weapon, basically like ordnance. Roll 2d6 and pick the highest. And that's a pen, but there is a ruin save in the way. Damn it. The shot just impacts, smashes uselessly into the wall. Then the double Ds, it's got to be done. This thing has got 2 Ds on it as well. Firing 2 large blasts centered over that model to try and take down the amount of firepower that's going to come back at me. Rolling to hit. That's a hit on the first shot. Second shot. Hit on the second shot. We've got 2 Ds smashing in, looking for that beautiful 6. Come on, dice gods. No. The 1 does nothing. This will just do D3 wounds unless he makes a 4-up ruin save. And he makes a 4-up ruin save. All the shots from the Warhound Titan just smashing into ruins. It's obviously taken a pounding last turn and is staggering right and left, maybe down on 1 knee. The shots going wild. I guess the Princeps in Fear the Darkness is going to have to show him how it's done. Firing the D all the way across at that thing. It can reach. That's a 96-inch range laser blaster coming in at this thing with its double Ds, and I'm going to fire all 6 large blasts centered on this model because I really, really want to kill it. So the first shot is going to scatter. We'll measure it up. That's off the table. That's a miss. Second shot hits. Third shot. We'll measure it up. Yep, that's still a hit. Fourth shot. That's going to hit. 3-inch scatter. Fourth shot. We need to measure this one as well. That was the 5th shot and that hit as well. And now we're coming in with the last shot. And that's a hit. 4 or 5 hits. Can't remember how many. I'll have to check back on the footage. But let's roll these one at a time. A 6 will just kill it. No. 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 Yes, that's 6 plus D6 wounds, ignoring cover. Because they only have 6 wounds, that stops me rolling the 5th dice. I can't remember how many wounds I got, but I've killed it. It's gone. Neutralising the amount of D fire that's going to be coming back at me. Then the Apocalypse missile launcher from top came in, fired there. There wasn't very many choice targets and wasn't able to do anything to the vehicles. Right, that's the end of turn 3 for the Imperium. First serious shot ringing out in anger there. And the first Wraith Knight is down, but this Warhound Titan may not survive much longer, particularly as we have a Revenant coming on and the Seer Council, the remainder of the Eldar reserves. And while I have some big gun, most of the Eldar are still inside their vehicles and still safe. The Banshees passing their leadership test in the backfield there. Two armies are rushing forward to meet each other on this battle grid. This fight is far from over. Let's move on to Eldar turn 3. The Eldar movement phase, everything is here, and this battle grid has just got nasty. Dire Avengers disembarking, looking at these bikes. We've got Wraithguard disembarking, looking at these Terminators. Wraith Lords moving forward up the table. A significant footprint now around here, about to punish some of these units. The Seer Council came on in their Wave Serpent and immediately jumped out. And I think that might be an invisible Revenant Titan very, very soon. The Wave Serpent with Hazaman has come on, and he's also here with his Dire Avengers and is about to bladestorm the hell out of Chaplain Snow's command squad with all of those Hammer Terminators there, and the Avatar coming up and over ready to charge in, as well as the Wraith Lord. We also have Fire Prisms pulling back, the Crimson Hunter zipping across, looking at the Honor Jadoon Crawlers, and of course the Revenant Titan. 2 Ds in each fist. Where he chooses to shoot is anyone's guess. And he's put him in the center of the table here because this thing can move, I think it's 36 inches in one turn. It can move a very long way. These jetpacks are on its shoulder for a reason. It is a beast of a creature. So up until this point, the Eldar have not been able to kill one unit from the 13th or the Penitent Forge, but I definitely think that's going to change in this turn. Let's move on to the shooting phase for the Eldar in turn 3. Right, before we move on to the shooting phase, the Seer Council is indeed going to try and make that Revenant invisible. He manifests on a 3-up and he's chucking this number of dice at it. And he passes 4 times. I've only got 3 dice to deny, so I can't deny it, but that is a Perils. Let's see what the Perils does. That's a 1. You need to pass a leadership test, leadership 10, which he does. So that means that particular Psyker takes a wound, and that Revenant is invisible. Shrouding passed, invisibility passed, out of range for many of his offensive powers, that's it. So let's move on to the shooting phase. Very start of the shooting phase, these Wraith Guards flaming my Terminators. We've measured it with this with the Flamer template. It's going to be 20 hits, 20 D hits coming in. This is going to sting.
1 and 2 do nothing.
There's enough 6s there though. -1 to the D chart with Wraith Guards, so 6s don't auto kill, but I've got to make this many 5-up invulnerable saves, and yep, they're all dead. And that's the power of D size there. They've just sneezed in the general direction of those Terminators and melted them to slag. Shooting phase is over. Apart from the Revenant, these Dire Avengers shooting in at these attack bikes, forcing them to jink, but not killing any, forcing a wound. And then Azaman's Dire Avengers plus the Wraith Knight firing down at Chaplain Snow and his Hammonators, plus the Fire Prisms in the backfield. 6 Terminators dragged down. They locked their shields together and shouted in defiance, but it was not enough to withstand firepower of that magnitude. Crimson Hunter fired down at the Honor Jadoon Crawlers, but their shield harmonics keeping them firm. And then Lance Fire, Lance Fire, Lance Fire, everything that could fire fired one more round up at the Warhound Titan, and it's still alive. In fact, it only dropped 1 shield this time. So many 1s and 2s rolled. So miracle of miracle, the Omnissiah saved it. It's got 1 shield left, 2 hull points left, and now it has drawn the attention of the Revenant. First 2 shots coming in, That will definitely hit. It's a 2-inch scatter. And the second shot with ballistic skill 4, that's a 7-inch scatter back. We'll measure it, but it's probably still going to hit. And even though it scattered 7 inches, it still clips the hull, still takes out his foot. So 2 D hits have hit the Titan. The first D hit, to hit it, you don't even have to roll anything. As soon as a shield takes a hit from a D, it drops the shield. And so the second D shot now hits the Titan. Roll a D6 to see what happens. And that's D3 hull points. It's got 2 hull points left. Gotta check the cover, gotta check the cover. Down here the cover looks good, but from the angle of its weapon all the way up here, no cover whatsoever. 3 hull points are 1, 2, it's safe. 3, 4, 5, 6, it's gone. She's gone, she's gone. So the dying of the light is no more, and when Warhound Titans go boom, they suffer a nuclear meltdown, titanic explosion. It blew up backwards off the battle grid, leaving nothing but a mushroom cloud behind. And with 4 void shields remaining on the Reaver Titan, he's firing the last 2 Ds down in on the Onager Dune Crawlers. First one scatters 2 inches, just hits 1 or 3 inches, and the second one hits. 2 hits on this thing. What does it do? Oh, it's gone no matter what. That 6 will be 6 plus D6 hull points with no cover saves or saves of any kind whatsoever. 1 hit on this one. What you get, what you get, what you get? A 2. So I've got a 4-up invulnerable save. It would be a 5-up going forward, but this hits it at the same time. So he has a 4-up invulnerable save, which he fails, and that takes D3 hull points off of this thing.
3.
Yeah, so that was brutal. Absolutely brutal. 2 of the Onager Dune Crawlers gone. The Warhound Titan gone. Nasty firepower, and he's still got a rocket pack left to fire. The shoulder-mounted rocket pack there, fired down in at the land speed of storm strength. 5 weaponry there, didn't do anything. That's the end of the shooting phase for the Eldar. Now we've got some assaults coming up. Let's see if the Avatar and this Wraith Knight can make it into Chaplain Snow and his Terminators. Wraith Knight charged in first, made the charge. Avatar failed to make it in combat. Hammer of Wrath did nothing. Now the Wraith Knight is hitting on 4s. Oh no, just 1 hit. Wounding on a 2, that's a wound. And I have a 3-up invulnerable save, which I make. Now I'm going to smack back with some hammers. Snow strikes back on 3s, and he re-rolls to hit because of Zealot, and he'll wound on a 6 with his Crozius, nothing. And then I have 8 hammers, which hit on 4s, and re-roll to hit because of Zealot. That's 4 hits plus another 2, and this is strength 8 versus toughness 8. Oh no, only 3 wounds in total. That's 3 5-up invulnerable saves on the Wraith Knight. What am I talking about? 4s to wound, so it only caused 1 wound with a 5-up invulnerable save, and a 5-up feel no pain, and he doesn't take any wounds whatsoever, and then he gets D3 stomps.
Use that 5 again.
3 stomps, 3 small blasts, probably centered all on Snow. Right, he's placing the blasts along here everywhere but on Snow, because Snow's fearless and he wants to be locked up in combat. Result of the first stomp and the second stomp doesn't do anything, and the third stomp. Okay, so this will be strength 6 AP4 hits. We'll figure it out off camera. That caused 5 wounds on the Terminators. They have a 2-up save, which they make. So essentially at the end of that combat, no wounds done to either side. We are locked up, which prevents me shooting that Wraith Knight. Snow survives for 1 more turn, but no doubt the Avatar will be in there soon, and no doubt they will be able to break through those assault Terminators and begin to affect this battlefield. Remember, there's objectives there and here, and a Tesla coil on this piece of ruin up here. We're going to do a bit of battle focusing for the Eldar, but that's the end of turn 3. 1 Wraith Knight down, 1 Warhound Titan down. Blood is flowing now freely across this battlefield. Let's move on to turn 4. This is the end of turn 4 movement phase for the Imperium. The attack bikes there are jinking, so they've nipped back into cover here, and the Dragoons instead are going to take care of this vehicle and hopefully this vehicle. And then I've got heavy bolter fire, lots of firepower, plus the Storm Talon that came on to try and get rid of those Dire Avengers. That should be that chunk done. Still not touching the Wraith Lord or the other Wraith Lord. Next to that vehicle though, I need to kill all this D, so that's where one of the shots, the triple D shots from the Reaver Titan is going to go. And into the Seer Council in the backfield, that's where the second round is going to go. I'm not having that thing invisible turn after turn after turn. So kill the Psychers. And then the rest of the army pushing forward, pushing round, trying to get as many shots as I can into Azaman's unit. That's where the Warlord is. Azaman is your Warlord, right? Yeah, so let's try and kill him. The other flyer off. Not feeling too confident about this fight, but with Reaver Titan Fear the Darkness on my side, with the Penitent Forge, with the might of the Omnissiah, I am sure I can do some serious damage to these Eldar now. And hopefully blow them off this battle grid and send them back to She Who Thirsts. Apart from Fear the Darkness, the Reaver Titan, this is the end of the shooting phase. The attack bikes here managed to blow up one of the fire prisms, and then we had shots from the Rangers, from the Storms, from the Vanguard, from the Onager Dune Crawler. So much firepower. We didn't think Azaman would die, so we didn't roll it on camera, but he did. He just failed 3 ones in a row. He just got lit up. This part of the battle grid is on fire and strewn with the dead bodies of Dire Avengers and one of the Phoenix Lords himself. Suddenly there's a big chunk missing at this side of the table, but there still is the Avatar and a Wraith Knight, let's not forget. And then round here, this Dire Avenger squad didn't fare any better to all the heavy bolters from there and the Storm Talon, and 2 of the Wraith Guard died to a couple of the Vanguard that were in range and could see and could hit. Now I'm going to fire triple large blasts down here from Fear the Darkness and triple large blasts here, also clipping the Wave Serpent, from Fear the Darkness. The large blast was coming in here and we rolled off camera, managed to get 13 hits on the Seer Council and 3 hits on the Wave Serpent, tickling it with the side here. So 3 diva hits on the Wave Serpent, looking for that magic 6. No magic 6s. And you've got a couple of saves there to make. 2 5-up and buns. And he makes 1 of them, but that's still D3 hull points with 1 D hit. And just takes 1 hull point off of this. And then I've got 13 hits on the Seer Council. 13 hits do this, and does that. Some 4+ and buns, some shrouding, some 6s just getting straight through and annihilating the Seer Council. Now the left arm, firing through this window here, so if I don't get any 6s, there's definite ruin saves, dropping it on this guy's head 3 times. Most of the D shots deflected by that window frame, by the ruin there, washing down in and only killing the Autarch, but blowing up the Wave Serpent. That's the end of turn 4 shooting phase for the Imperium. We've got a few key assaults coming up before we wrap out this phase. We've got these Dune Crawlers, Dragoons going in, and the fight down the other side with Chaplain Snow. Assault phase over, and Chaplain Snow on 1 wound left is looking at this Wraith Knight. It was the stomp that took the wound off of him. All the rest of the assault terminators are dead, and now the Chaplain's locked up in a duel to the death with this towering monstrosity. It's on 5 wounds left and is concussed. One of the hammers smashed it in the kneecap before they were taken down. And then in other assaults, I didn't charge in on the Wraith Guard with this Dragoon. That's suicide. They've got Flamer Ds, but these Dragoons came in and do what Dragoons do, wrecked this vehicle. These squads, Admech Dragoons, are very, very good at killing vehicles. And that's it for turn 4 for the Imperium. This side of the battle grid is looking very naked all of a sudden. It looks like this side of the battle grid will probably fall to the 13th or the Penitent Forge. This beast of a Titan will not be invisible this turn, but let's not forget that Fear the Darkness still has 4 hull points left. Sorry, that's 4 shields left and 18 hull points left. It's untouched, unscratched, and there's a lot less firepower about to come smashing in on my flank this turn. And Snow heroically holding this Wraith Knight up, which means that he doesn't get to break free and dash forward and punch that, or punch whatever he wants with the Wraith Knight this turn. Snow will hold his ground until the very end. So now we're moving on to Eldar turn 4. What can they do to grab these Tesla coils? Can they take down the energy shield? Let's find out. End of turn 4 movement for the Eldar. And apart from one Wraith Knight here and some Wraith Guard, they're staying away from this single objective. The rest of the army sweeping round and down to this side of the battle grid where the 3 objectives are, one here, and one between the feet of Fear the Darkness. And the Revenant is up and over. I think it's going to try and get some shots in. And the armoured column of all the Eldar pointing all of its guns this way. They've chosen which side of the battle grid they want to focus their might. There's no psychic phase now, so let's move on to the shooting phase. Quick recap. Up here, Wraith Lord did nothing to them. These guys rolled a bunch of 1s when trying to flame this, did nothing to that. But all the lance fire, all the bright lance fire smashing up at the Reaver Titans have stripped all of its hull points off, and now we're going to fire 4 large blast D shots straight on his face. He's already dropped 1 hull point. He's down to 17 remaining. So roll for scattering, and the first one will hit. It's a 4-inch scatter, but it'll hit. And the second one, 3-inch scatter, it's going to hit. Basically you need double 6s and a miss to miss. Hits, and the last one hits. So that's 4D hits on Fear the Darkness. 17 hull points left. Looking for that magic 6. No cover at this range. No cover whatsoever. Let's see what you can do.
Come on, 4 6s. Oh, 2 6s. Sweet.
With those 2 6s rolled plus the other, that was 19 hull points taken off of the Reaver Titan. It blew up. Again, a nuclear inferno falling backwards off the battle grid, and surprise, surprise, not wounding anyone when it went boom. And with both God Machines of the Ominous Sire gone, the shape of this battle has changed dramatically. We've still got the assault phase to do. Will Chaplain Snow survive? Will the Avatar wipe out these bikes here? Will this be a victory for the Eldar? A great cheer goes up amongst the Xenos lines. This could be all over. It could be all over. I've got that sinking feeling. Let's do this assault phase. And in the assault phase, Snow falls to the Wraith Knight. He's gone. The Avatar wipes out the 2 attack bikes here and over here. This Wraith Lord gets into combat with the 2 Dragoons, blowing one of them sky high and locking the other one up. We're about to move into turn 5, and the Eldar control this objective. I've got Wraith Knights running down towards this objective, the Avatar and some Banshees back there on this objective. This Revenant just needs to hop up and stand where Fear the Darkness once stood and hold this objective. Suddenly the 13th and the Penitent Forge are getting pushed back and back and back. Let's go on to turn 5. It's the end of the movement phase, and I only cover 3 objectives. I've got multiple units covering this objective down here. The Talon, which was here, moving around to kill the last lone dire Avenger there. I can't have him sneaking around and stealing that one. That should guarantee me this objective, considering that there are no Eldar up here. Got to stop the Wraith Guard though, so shots from the storm, from the guys that have jumped out of the storm, from this storm, from the bikes. That should be enough firepower to get those Wraith Guard. Guarantee me this objective. Or maybe this is offset. Maybe that Wraith Lord will survive all of the attacks that are about to come in on him. and then no one scores that. Remember, everyone's got objective secured in this game. And then back here, I'm not covering this one. But I am covering this one with lots and lots and lots of Vanguard, and this one with a Land Speeder Storm and some guys inside. So currently I have 2 objectives. This one is contested, no one has that one. All the Eldar have to do to win at the end of turn 5, if it ends on turn 5, is contest these 3 and score the one back there. So I need to kill me some Xenos. Let's move on to the shooting phase. Turn 5 for the 13th of the Penitent Forge, and things are not going well. Yes, that Dire Avenger died, but the other Dragoon charged in, and both of them got ripped apart by that Wraith Lord, who's standing there and looking on. There's a unit of scouts inside the storm offsetting that objective with him, but I failed to kill all of the Wraith Guard here. There's one left. And then I suicidally made a charge, or tried to charge, a D wall of flame, and 3 of my scouts paid the price for that foolish endeavour. So with only a Wraith Guard and a Wraith Lord remaining, the Eldar prevent me from controlling this objective. Some success down here, lots and lots and lots of radiation rounds smashing into the Wraith Knight and bringing it down. Rad carbines cause a wound on a 6 regardless of toughness, cause 2 wounds on a roll of 6 regardless of toughness. So it was brought down by volume of fire, and I was able to blow up one of the vehicles as well. But that was pretty much it. No shots went in on the Revenant, no shots went in on this flyer here. 1 wound tickled off the Avatar there. I currently control this objective and this objective, but yeah, things are looking bleak. Let's move on to Eldar, turn 5. In the movement phase, this Revenant, which took out both of the Titans, let us not forget, is now offsetting this objective here. There's nothing I can do to him for the rest of the game. He is going to lord it over this battlefield. And the Crimson Hunter that was here turned 90 degrees, then successfully made a brake test and is now racing back down to this side of the battlefield to join in the Wraith Knight and the Wraith Guard. And then we have the noose closing in on the Vanguard. Banshees jumping up and over the remaining ones controlling that objective. Currently the Eldar control this one. I control this one. Both of the other 2s are currently contested, and we both have Slay the Warlord. If it ends like this, it will be a draw. If it ends on turn 5 as well, let's go on to the shooting phase. End of turn 5 for the Eldar. Crimson Hunter forcing this Storm to jink. This whiffing against this Storm. This Wraith Lord whiffing against this thing. Shot it and assaulted it. Clanged straight off of its armour both times. Lots of 1s rolled there. So this objective is still contested. But this objective no one owns. Dual Flamers on the Wraith Lord coming in and wiping out a bunch of them. And then Fire Pikes coming in and killing the remaining ones. This objective no longer controlled by anyone, but the Avatar and the Howling Banshees control that objective. And then we had some Lance Fire coming in, which ripped open the Land Speeder Storm back here. And then this thing, well, it had to do it. Fire some Ds down on the scouts, and there was 1 left. And so he assaulted and killed the scout. So at the end of turn 5, the Eldar control this objective and that objective, and I control 0. And the game ends on a 1-2. We're going on to turn 6. This is the very end of turn 6 for the Space Marines and the Penitent Forge. The Terminators managed to make it into combat with that Wraith Lord and drag him down. I now control this objective, and I managed to kill the last Wraith Guard here. And then Flyers zipping in right and left. This one now hovering. Put all I could, many rounds into the Fire Dragons, killing all but 1, and he passed his morale test and killing off the Wraith Lord there. So we now have empty vehicles, 2 empty vehicles back there, the Avatar and the Howling Banshees back there, and I couldn't do anything to this chap here. I'm holding on for a draw, rather than the brutal defeat that I was suffering last turn. The Eldar are bleeding. I am making them pay for every inch of ground that they take. Let's see if they can force back this draw into a victory and take this battle grid for the Eldar. Let's move on to Eldar turn 6. It's the bottom of turn 6, it's all over. This is the way the world ends. A brutal, brutal victory for the Eldar. The Wave Serpent over here has zipped round and stole this objective after the Crimson Hunter blew up the land speeder storm that was there, and then D shots coming in from the Titan in the distance annihilated all the Terminators and the closely packed scouts that were on this objective. They steal this objective, and then shots from the Fire Dragon and from the Fire Prison blew up the skimming, jinking Storm Talon that was here. And this Wave Serpent is contesting this objective. And of course, this big bad boy that took out 2 Titans is controlling this objective. At the end of the game, the Eldar have 3 out of 4 of the objectives and contest 1. I have 0 objectives. I have 1 point to slay the Warlord. They have 10. I brought 2 Titans to this fight, but it was not enough to defeat the mighty Eldar. They're certainly kings of 40k right now. And they were certainly the kings of this battle grid, sweeping everything in front of them despite a brutal first couple of turns. In the first 2 turns they only managed to kill 1 squad, and that was it. And then in turn 3 everything turned up and started just chipping away and chipping away and chipping away until there was none of the 13th left and none of the Penitent Forge left that could do anything to hurt them. The Revenant just dominated this game, taking out anyone who dared to oppose him. Remember, if the Reaver was still stood there at the end of the game, it could have been a very different battle. I'm sure it would have been a very different battle with the amount of firepower, the amount of Ds that Reaver Titan could throw down. But in the end, it was not enough. These Tesla cores will fall to the Eldar. The shield above the city will collapse, and they will drop their forces en masse. The 13th and the Penitent Forge retreat, humiliated, defeated. Thank you very much for watching, and happy wargaming.